Hello, and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Dave Candido.
We are back again for more Mortal Kombat. This time with Legends 3, the third one, the third adventure, which is called Snowblind.
Sorry.
Yeah. Snowblind. And then I also wanted to, I was showing off Dave. I was like, oh yeah, I found my, this is not Snowblind if you were wondering, but the old Mortal Kombat animated movie. I found the
case is in such good shape.
Well, you know why it's in good shape? Because this is from my old video scene rental store back in the day, and they did the thing where they put the VHSs in like the hard plastic cases.
Yeah.
So that thing probably sat behind the counter forever, you know, and nobody really touched the outer case.
Man, as a kid, I hated those things. I couldn't get them out.
Yeah, exactly. Or they you get the ones where they put the styrofoam in them and everything like that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, so one of these days we should do that because I did find that one on YouTube, so we could watch that one really easily and so on like that.
You know, the speaking of plastic cases for protecting stuff, if you got like really valuable, whether or not they're actually valuable or just valuable to you, I'm not sure how you'd get them. Other than just like walking up to the electronics counter at Walmart or something and just grabbing all those security cases. Oh, no, you can't do that because it'd go off as you went out the building. But, bad idea. Never mind.
He's stealing security cases.
That'd be hilarious. But if you can get those like online or something, that's a really good way because the cases, I don't know how you'd get those, but the key to open them, you can buy them right on Amazon. They're like $3.
Really?
Yeah. They're called Alpha keys.
Okay.
And I remember
like that beta key that doesn't get you anywhere in life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, because I got sick of having to wait for people to come unlock stuff for me. Either that or
so you just go like, sir, do you need help? Oh, don't mind me, I have my own key.
I got it. Yeah, exactly, man. I'm gonna buy one. I mean, what are they gonna do? Like, give me that? It's like, no, I bought this. This is mine.
I just put a blue vest on and no one's gonna bother you. So
exactly. But yeah, I got sick of when I worked at Walmart, and I had to unlock like people's, $100 Crown Royal bottles or like real big ones and stuff. Or the liquor that was most commonly stolen, they'd put those stupid caps on them. And we'd have to use those keys, and it's just a magnet. And you put them on top and unlock it. Well, some of them just didn't work. Like they were old and they just didn't work anymore. So we're standing there at this stupid self-check or our own register, just sitting there like.
Looks like you don't even know how to do your fucking job.
And of course, the people are like, it's just going to take long. I have to go home and drink that, and it's like, oh my God. Well, there was that too. So I'm like, you know what? I feel like I would just buy my own. And I never did. But anyway, yeah, that'd be perfect to keep some of your not VHSs because they don't fit. But
no, you have to find some old Walmart ones if that was the case.
Yeah, that was the case. The DVDs, Blu-rays and stuff, like, I don't know. That was a little long-winded, but if you get an alpha key and you find some cases, that's the way to do it.
I do have some of these cases. Now these are for video games, like they're just like these like plastic ones that you kind of build and put together, and then you can clip around. And I have some of them that they fit N64 and Super Nintendo games. I think I have some for NES too.
Oh man, you remember
those? I just kind of got the review, but the kind of nice thing about them was if you have a box that's a little bit like kind of like bent and everything like that, you put in one of these cases and it just like fits it. Yeah, literally like a girdle for like a video game case.
Do you remember those early PS1 cases that were like giant?
Yeah, the big boy cases.
Yeah, they were like that big.
The big old cardboard. I love those ones. The tall boy box,
I remember seeing I had like two of those. The one game was Descent. That really old weird. I never knew what the hell I was doing playing that game. And the other game, man, I don't even know if I remember what game it was. I had Descent, and I want to say it might have been God. It was a game that it was a shooter, like a top-down shooter. The graphics were terrible. There was balloons on the case and like a dude with a bunny mask.
It's not loaded. Is that loaded?
Loaded, yeah.
Yeah.
Loaded. but I don't think that was the one, to be honest. But that
Well,
was
there's Reloaded or whatever.
yeah, but that was the game that came to mind. I remember, dude. I thought Loaded was so fun, and then
am I getting those confused with the Metallica albums, like Loaded? And Reloaded. There's Loaded and Reloaded,
and then Overkill. Load and Overkill were very similar games, but anyway, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
Snowblind.
Yeah, Snowblind. Technically, if you would, speaking of those Tallboy cases, you could literally get Mortal Kombat. I think 3 came in that one on PlayStation 1. If I'm not mistaken. Because I have a couple of them. I don't have Mortal Kombat, sadly, but I have Street Fighter Alpha on there. I have Revolution X, the Aerosmith video game, on there in the back case. And I think about 1 or 2 others, but there's a few others I wouldn't mind having. I wouldn't mind having the Mortal Kombat one just for collection-wise. That'd be pretty sweet, you know. Though I know when that one came out, it was like Mortal Kombat 3 came out for PlayStation. It's just like
95.
Why don't you just wait like 2 more months and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 is going to come out? You know, but yeah, Mortal Kombat Snowblind. I was actually kind of blind going into this. I've watched this movie when it first came out.
As was I. I hadn't seen it.
Well, except for I did see it though.
Oh.
But I completely forgot because I was watching this movie, and for some reason in my head, if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago or whatever we did the last podcast, I would have been like, yeah, it's like the third one of like the last 2, but it just stars Kenshi. That's what I would have told you. And then I was watching this, I'm like, oh no, this one's almost like its own complete story.
Oh man,
almost an alternate universe thing going on.
Yeah, that's what I was like, what's going on here? You know, I'm like, I know I'm gonna watch the movie. You know, sometimes it's like when you're watching a movie and somebody's like, what's going on? I don't get it. Just watch the movie. It's gonna get explained. Come on. But
I used to have a buddy back in I mean, when I say this, like we were like maybe in 3rd or 4th grade, and he used to ask me all the time. He'd be asking questions about the movie and so on like that. And there was one time I just turned to him and looked and said, dude, I know the exact same amount of story details on this movie as you do right now. I have never seen it before. I have no idea what happens next. Let's just watch this together. And I remember from that point on, he never brought it up again. He stopped asking those questions. Like, I have no idea. I know as much as you do. We've seen the same 40 minutes of this film.
Like a brand new movie. It's not a sequel. It's not.
No. Yeah.
Like, oh, you know what? Yeah, let me tell you exactly what happens next. You know, my friend gets punched in the face. No,
yeah, that's it. Just, shut up and watch the movie.
No,
know your role.
Swine. You know the.
How about you go to your pantry and get me some snacks?
This beer is cold, Pantera. Go. Treat your stepmother with respect, Pantera. You'll be sleeping in the streets. Beavis and Butthead reference for everyone who probably didn't get that.
Okay, it would have fit about the same time that this when I was making that comment about the movie. So you know, Beavis and Butthead era, back in the day when people used to have nice pantries. You remember those? Like you used to go to someone's house and they'd actually have a pantry that was filled to the brim. That went away after some point.
And yeah,
I always felt like after like the 2008 recession, pantries just were gone. They were turned into like glorified like tool cabinets and so on like that, you know. They're like, we don't have extra money for snacks. No more Gushers. No more extra Cheez-Its. And if there is Cheez-Its in there, it's not going to be, you know, name brand. It's definitely off brand.
I keep my cat's hairballs in my pantry now.
Yeah, it's actually the cat's house now, so I wouldn't disturb him.
Yeah, no, I gotta say once again, like Battle of the Realms, I liked even more. This movie, I like even more.
It's like you get better.
Yeah, and it's nothing like the other two, other than it's really brutal and people die horrible deaths.
Yeah, and it might be more brutal. I think these movies are getting progressively brutaler.
But that's the Mortal Kombat fashion. So I mean, like you can't be upset about that. If you are, then what are you doing? You know, you need to be watching Care Bears. But which I think secretly have some evil shit going on in there. But you know, we'll never know.
Care Bears versus Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Just one of those shiny bear or whatever the hell, just taking a huge shit on Shao Kahn's face or something, like some weird twist at the end. But I was like, the first thing I thought was, wow, this looks like Mad Max. As the film kind of opens up, you know, it's like you don't really know. There's no, once again, it's kind of like the second film. There's no preface. There's no like, so here's what happened, and now here's what is. And no, you just open up to this like village-looking place in a desert high desert, maybe, I don't know. There's mountains, hills in this desert, and that's where this village is built. And then you see all these desert looking rat rods and stuff hauling ass towards this place, and then all these classic Mortal Kombat characters jump out of them, save for what's his name, Aaron Black. He's not a classic character, but yeah, you got Aaron Black, you got Cabal.
He's kind of like the new character by that point, because the first game he's in is 10, correct?
Yeah. The you got Aaron Black, you got Cabal, Kira, what's his name,
you get Cobra.
And
he's in like Deception or whatever. Or...
Yeah, and then of course, not long after, they show old ass wrinkly Shang Tsung, but they're all just like, they blaze into this town, total Mad Max style, and just kill the crap out of half the populace, and then they say like, "We're here to protect you," and I'm like, of course, and
Neo before Kano.
yeah, exactly, and then King Kano, I'm like, what? Like, they killed this dude in the first film. And so then immediately my thought is, something really weird happened, and is this even in the same universe as those other two films? That was my thought, is this some weird like multiverse thing? But yeah, and I don't know, I'll let you go forward with where I left off there.
Yeah, no, because that was the thing I kind of totally forgot while watching it. I was like, oh, I forgot this is like kind of, in a sense, an Elseworlds Mortal Kombat story. And yeah, you're in this Mad Max world and everything like that. And you kind of realize that it's very far in the future, too, And not only is there this Mad Max thing going on, but then they show old man Sub-Zero, and he's just this farmer dude, and he's working out. And it literally has this Unforgiven, like the Clint Eastwood movie kind of feel, or for a more modern reference, Old Man Logan. And
yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was my next thought going forward. After you see Sub-Zero, and after he gets beat up and does nothing about it, that was my thought, was Old Man. I'm like, don't tell me. Like, and I got a little upset. I'm not going to lie. I'm like... This is kind of a ripoff.
Yeah. Well, then it's a ripoff of kind of Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. Is kind of like the initial one of that story. And there's probably something beforehand that does that too. But that was kind of what I always think of as, that's the one where here's this great old gunfighter, and now he's just kind of living on his own farm, and he wants to do nothing with killing anymore or anything like that, And then somehow, some way, he gets pulled back into it. Just when I was out, they pulled me back in.
That's kind of like a working man.
Yeah, like working man, exactly.
I went and saw that through.
Did you like that one?
I thought it was great.
I loved the living daylights out of it.
Everything I'd expect from a Stay the movie, and then I had no regrets.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought Stallone did
a lot better in the box office than Snow White.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's because nobody wants to see Snow White. You know what they want? You know what they should bring back out is, have you ever seen this one before? I think I sent this to you actually, but there is that Warner Brothers animated movie or animated short that came out, like, I want to say give or take the 50s, but it was the one. It was called Coal Black and the Seven Dwarves.
I think I sent that to you.
Oh, okay. Well, I know I sent that to you too, so maybe we just had to send back to each other. Because...
Oh yeah, Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah, you gotta say it right, the Seven Dwarves, because that's literally how it's spelled and everything like that.
Oh yeah, that's such a terrible but hilarious cartoon. Oh sweet honey child, come over here. Telling her granddaughter about Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs. But yeah, no, that was some. That's some hilarious shit. It's very terrible, very racist.
Yeah. And ironically, they were not. Warner Brothers was not making it in a racist way. They're just like, we love jazz music. We just wanted to kind of make something that had that jazz music feel.
One way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, it's not an easy one to seek out, but I know you can find it on archive.org.
It's on YouTube.
Is it on there? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure there's at least one or two videos.
Some of those ones are kind of hard to find on there.
Might be kind of hidden. You might have to dig for it. But...
Yeah, you got to dig for it. You got to learn how to spell it properly. But yeah. But no, Working Man, that was a good one and whatnot. But where we at? Mortal Kombat, kind of doing the Unforgiven Old Man Logan thing, except for this time it's with Sub-Zero. And no matter what, he's still buff as all can be.
Oh, yeah.
And, he's working as a farmer and everything like that. He's got his donkey and everything, And people even kind of question him. He's like, it's pretty much a desert out there, but how does this guy keep bringing in such good crops? He's like, well, you got a little secret. You got a little ice secret. And if you melt ice, it turns into water.
He makes them like Cartman makes hamburgers.
Yeah, exactly. So Sub-Zero's out there, but he wants nothing to do with any violence or anything like that. So when he even sees these guys coming in to terrorize the town, he does nothing but just kneel down, take a kick in the face or whatever, and then just let them be on their merry way. But we're introduced here to I guess you would say our main protagonist, though, is Kenshi, which I think is kind of cool that they give him a full-blown, starring movie. Because he was always a cool character that appeared in like the PS2 era of Deadly Alliance and Deception and all that stuff. The blind swordsman.
Yeah, he was a DLC character for 9, then he was in 10, and then absent from 11, and brought back for Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah.
Which I kind of liked his character in 1 too, actually. I didn't think his character development was as cool as it was in this movie. But I've always liked Kenshi too, as long as I knew who he was.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know, and I think that's just it was a neat choice one to have, especially for if you're doing this Elseworlds one. I think it kind of worked well. And then of course, you have Sub-Zero as so if anything, that's who you guys your big character, but it's old man Sub-Zero.
I kept thinking the whole time, like I said, I kept thinking Wolverine and Hulk. Wolverine constantly getting beat up by the Hulks. And I got that first, I got the graphic novel of the original Old Man Logan from start to finish. And then after I bought that, of course, they continued on with it and like branched off in different what do you call it, titles, I guess.
Just little spin-offs and stuff. And
like kind of everywhere. I think they finally killed Old Man Logan or sent him back to his own reality or whatever. But yeah, I liked it for a while, and then I'm like, dude, just finish this, man. Like, holy crap.
I feel like the first book, solid.
That's all you need.
Like that one. Yeah, like the rest of it felt like, okay, they're just kind of milking it now. Yeah.
But I did like. I was interested to see where Kenshi's character was going. I mean, every time you're introduced to a Kenshi that has eyes, something's going to happen because he's supposed to be blind. And so, of course, like he beats the crap out of the henchmen, Kano's henchmen, Kira, Cabal, and I keep forgetting, but Cobra. And then, of course, they go back to Daddy, and he sends them back with what's his face, Tremor, which I was pretty excited to see Tremor actually because. The only two other games I know with Tremor, unless Tremor is in Armageddon.
I think he's in Armageddon.
Okay. I was going to say the only other two, like his first appearance was in that dumb Special Forces game, and it wasn't much of an appearance. He was just a henchman. But appropriate, as the movie puts it, he's a henchman to Kano. So I thought that was pretty cool that they did that again. I really liked the continuity of these movies. Even though some of the stuff they make their own, they give it a kind of a fresh reboot for some of the things in the MK series. I like how what's the word? I like how not accurate, how faithful. I like how faithful they are to the series in a lot of ways. All these people that you see in this film, the Black Dragon folks, they're actually Black Dragon in the original Midway series. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, so they go back and they bring Tremor, of course, and Tremor just totally beats the crap out of Kenshi. And I was expecting a little bit more of a fight based off how it started. Because Kenshi did knock him back a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, he's gonna, beat the crap out of him. Maybe Tremor's gonna burn his eyes out, or who knows?" No, he just beat the total piss out of him. And then Shang Tsung, of course, he's got his tricks up his sleeve because he apparently doesn't like being a slave to Kano, which I don't fight like that either. But so he takes him. He says, "Oh, I take you to the well. You get your family sword."
And I love it. He's like, "Yeah, put your face over in there. Take a look down and stuff." And so Kano's like, "Oh, what's down there?" And then this big old beam of light comes by and just burns the living daylights out of his eyes. Like, oh, there it goes.
I'm not gonna lie. So I knew that something was going to happen to his eyes, right? Because he's a blind swordsman. I didn't expect it to be that.
Fresh souls.
Not just that, but as they're
Have you ever
coming
got
up,
a fresh soul in your eye before?
what? But no, the as soon as as soon as that happens, it goes to Shang Tsung like all happy because he's gonna get a bunch of souls and stuff. But Kenshi didn't really that's kind of an injury where I would think a person's like screaming in agony, and he's just kind of like oh, and he's laying there and he's like oh crap, I can't see.
Well,
my eyes, man.
He was just beat up by a rock monster only just like moments ago.
That is true.
know?
Maybe he just wasn't really in his right mind.
Because I do gotta say, speaking of even Tremor and so on like that, I do like the design that they have for him in this one, where he's like extra large,
just totally a rock, a melting rock.
He's just a melting rock of volcanic destruction. He kind of reminds me of almost the soldier guys and Ninja Turtles. Got drum like on the rock guys.
I don't know.
Oh, well, never mind. If not, I can't remember what the actor.
I thought that Tremor in Mortal Kombat 10 was like a weird scorpion mongoloid. Like I don't know if you remember his character in that game.
I do kind of, yeah.
Because he was another DLC character. Tremor was. He didn't have a role. And although I thought he was cool, he's a cool character to play. He was just kind of just a weird it was like if The Rock was Scorpion. He's just this like giant dude, and is he's pretty anthropomorphic for the most part. He's pretty dude looking, but then like his arms are real stony and stuff. Whereas in this movie, they really made it apparent like what he is. He's a big old freaking walking piece of lava.
There's a lava ninja.
Yeah. Oh man,
yeah.
and that Kano's freaking place, K-Town. Every time they say K-Town, I kept thinking Koreatown.
That sounds like where Kano would probably just take over anyways, let's be honest.
I would. Be a pretty cool spot.
And Kano in this one here gets to really chew scenery like he always kind of does. Because that's one of the best parts about Kano is Kano's always a very interesting character.
I think Kano's a great character. In fact, I think he was probably the best thing about that last Mortal Kombat movie, the live action.
I was gonna say that same thing too, because when I was watching this, that kind of reminded me of I forgot the one thing that was a couple things, but really the main thing that stands out a lot is Kano's really good in that 2021.
There's three parts of that movie that I think are worth watching. Everything that Kano was doing, the Sub-Zero fight with Jax, and the Scorpion Sub-Zero fight, and that's it.
Yeah, but like Kano in that one, he's really chewing the scenery. He's really making you feel like you want to be there, and then you see the other stuff. You're like, it just should be better. But in this one too, it's like he gets to chew scenery and snowblind, and for some reason it's in the future, and they don't really explain, but he's pretty much literally 90% robot by this point. Yeah, he's like a god,
a robot god. And that was bugging me too as I was watching it, because I keep thinking Kano's a cool character. I love Kano, but he's not like a Omega level mutant, as they say in Marvel. You know what I mean? He's just he's a dude. And obviously in this movie, he's like an android or something, but I'm like, so are the cyborgs. And people kill them with ease. So, I mean, why is this guy so freaking difficult to kill? And then of course, when, I'm trying to piece things together here, because not only that, but I'm also wondering to myself, they made Kano the main villain of this, and because I'm trying to figure this movie out. From the minute I start watching, I'm like, all right, here's what's going to happen, and then he gives some weird hints here and there to what's his name, Shang Tsung. I thought maybe this time you'd be a challenge. Oh, I thought maybe this time you'd learn. Oh, we've done this before. And I'm like, what the hell is this? What kind of sorcery is this? And it didn't really click to me until I don't know, about 20 minutes prior to when they reveal what's going on, is the whole Chronica's crown and all that. The hourglass and whatnot, where he changes time and the history and all that. But that's where I'm like, okay, well, this would be where he beats Chronica, and he changes history. And but no, it's that's when I was like, okay, I get it. This is how this happened.
Yeah. So it's almost like an alternative Mortal Kombat where Kano's the victor and he gets to manipulate the time, and now he's created this world and so on. But it doesn't really let you know this until kind of towards the very, very end.
Yeah.
At first you're just seeing King Kano here, and he rules with an iron fist, like literally just like Lord Humongous and like Mad Max Fury Road. Definitely going with that. And then for some reason, all this time, Sub-Zero, who obviously looks built like a ginormous like pro wrestler, has still not done anything about this King Kano incident. Just lets people just suffer and so on. But you learn farther down the road why. But I guess before we even get there, is of course Kenshi gets blinded by the souls coming out of the whatever the well and whatnot. And then there's a point where Shang Tsung, he turns back into young Shang Tsung. And then Kenshi's just like, without eyes, what's the point? Like, just kill me. Life sucks. And then he just decides to kick him down the well instead. Like, it's like, okay, for a Mortal Kombat, there's like, for the guy who says, fatality and all that kind of stuff, and finish him, he just kicks him down the well. Like,
that would have been funny if they did like a throwback to the, MK2 where they fall down the whole thing and land on the spike.
Yeah.
It could have happened. I mean, there was a sword down there,
Yeah. I mean, technically in the Scorpion's Revenge, when Scorpion throws himself with Sub-Zero onto the spike, and then realizes it was a bad idea, so pushes himself off of it, even though... I love how he realizes later, it's like, you know what, that was a bad idea. Why did I do that? You know what I mean? It sounded good in the moment.
I love how Quan Chi was also, like, shocked when Scorpion, like comes back and to fight him. It's like... Dude, this dude's not alive. Like, he's dead. Like, he's a revenant. Like, come on. Like, of course he's going to get off that spike and come kill you. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. What I mean? He just needs a little bit of willpower is all.
That's all I need when I impale myself on a giant spike that's as wide as my body.
Yeah, exactly. It always sounds like a good idea midair, but then you land and you regret everything.
Then I do a midair jump.
Yeah. Get one of those second jumps, I
tap A.
And if that doesn't work, I press up and B and use my special ability.
Or if I'm playing on Switch, I press pause and what is it, left bumper, left L1, L2, and I just rewind a little bit.
Oh yeah, you do a little Prince of Persia action.
Oh my gosh, did you hear about that? Off topic here, but the Switch 2 games, $80 for the digital Switch 2 games and $90 for physical. Yeah, and on top of that, the physical games are now for Switch. They're going to be just like the PS5 and Xbox. They're not even going to have a game. It's just a key to download the license.
Well, I know there's some that have cartridges still.
The cartridges are just going to be just like the discs for the modern consoles.
So the game's probably not going to be most likely on there, or at least not much of it.
No.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
It is, especially for $90.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing that to raise the price a little bit. I get it. There's always going to be inflation because, strangely enough, video games is one of the few things. Because a lot of times people will talk about like, oh man, video games are like so expensive. I'm like, they technically are actually way cheaper for like I'm just saying like prices now than like they kind of have ever been. Because Super Nintendo games, there used to be some of them, and same with N64, they were $75
for the time that they were released. It was a very expensive thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but $75 back then, when you made like maybe a third the amount, if not a fourth the amount that you make nowadays, that makes the game almost like it was a $200+ game. They'd get Chrono Trigger or something like that back in the day.
Oh yeah, but I don't know, man. I really want to buy a Switch 2, but I just don't know. $80 per game. I'm like. Yeah, what am I going to play on it? I'm going to just like, I guess I'll just play all my Switch games on
it. That happens to me a lot of times. I'll get a brand new system, and I kid you not, probably on that day, and like if it has backwards compatibility, I'm like, wonder what this is going to look like on it. I remember getting a Wii, and it was like, literally, it felt like a couple hours later, I was already putting Resident Evil, like the remake in there. I was like, I wonder what Resident Evil is going to look like on the Wii.
But, yeah. But anyway, here, so Kenshi falls down that well. And he's miserable, but then he hears a voice call to him, Kenshi. I was going to say he looks over, but no, he doesn't.
Yeah, Yeah. he tries.
He's got no eyes.
He looks a general direction.
He hears over.
He moves his face over.
Yeah. He uses his worthless eye sockets to listen to his sword whispering his name to him, Sento. And he gains the strength that like a shonen anime gains the strength of his family and friends, and uses that sword to get himself out of that well, climb out, and meanders and passes out in Sub-Zero's garden. And then Sub-Zero takes him in for the night, and then, he's like kind of a dick, he's like, all right, well, yeah, I took you in, but only for a night. So, because fuck you, get the hell out of here.
You know what? It's like, it's good that you're blind because I like to sleep in the nude, but
Kenshi gets all emo. He's like, well, I won't waste your time. I'll just leave now. And then
he does that too. He's like, I'll just kill myself out here and you could just bury me wherever.
And then for whatever, through conversation, convinces Sub-Zero more or less to train him, and basically, teaches him the Lin Kuei moves and this and that, and gets him to pull his head out of his ass, and minus the eyes, and just learns to fight again, learns to wield his sword with and without his hands, because it's magic and he can swing it around with his mind. And that sword, if people didn't know, basically when he holds it, it like pulses. It's kind of like Daredevil.
Yeah, literally just like the Daredevil movie. That's what I always think.
Yeah, and it pulses, and he sees all the shit around, everything around him. That's just, I was gonna say with a heartbeat, but no, it's not even that. He just sees everything.
Yeah, it just allows him to see like outlines and so on like that, and just minor details. Literally just like the Daredevil, like you get the sonar type stuff. But he learns the way of the Lin Kuei, because that's how he kind of earlier on when Kenshi sort of finds Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero's just bowing down and not fighting back or anything like that. He sees like a tattoo on him. He's like, "Well, you're Lin Kuei. Like that's the coolest thing ever, man. Like why don't you fight back?"
I'm retired.
He's like, "Oh, I don't do that anymore. The Lin Kuei is gone. Blah, 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 blah."
Starts having Vietnam flashbacks.
Yeah, he has those every night too. Because it almost sounds like this weird thing too, where it's like a Run Lola Run like repeat thing, where like every single time it shows Sub-Zero, he like has like the same like wake up out of bed, with his underwear.
I almost thought the second time they did that, I almost thought it was the same scene again. Like it was because at that point I didn't really know what the reality was, what the shtick was with this film, and I'm like, is this like a Groundhog's Day thing? Is this what's going on here?
Sub-Zero just keeps repeating the same day over and over again.
Yeah. I was almost kind of bummed. I was almost hoping for a little noob in that dream, Yeah. But ultimately I was pretty satisfied with what ends up being Sub-Zero's reality, what actually happened. But yeah. Maybe next movie there might be a little noob or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
probably not. But
no, I don't think so, if I remember correctly. But So when we finally figure out what happens to Sub-Zero, he finally has these non-flashbacks and whatnot. Is that apparently what kind of created this wasteland initially is that there was kind of like this kind of like zombie monster outbreak thing, whatnot.
The Revenants.
The Revenants. That's right.
From the Netherrealm.
Yeah, that's right. And then they were terrorizing everything, destroying whatnot. So the Lin Kuei, led by Sub-Zero, went out and be like, "We're gonna go take care of this and save whatever." I can't remember what city they were at, but they're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna go fix this." And so they're out there battling them and everything like that. And Sub-Zero decides, he's like, "You know what? It's just not enough. I'm gonna pretty much do like a spirit bomb, summoning all the ice I possibly can.
A really sharp spirit bomb."
Yeah, and so he summons too much ice, which you wouldn't think that would be a problem, but so he pretty much summons like the atomic bomb's worth of ice, and then it goes and it like destroys this whole city, impales like all the civilians, takes out some of the Revenants though, but that's not beyond the point, and kills all the Lin Kuei. So he gets one of those kind of moments, just like old man Logan, kind of like Unforgiven, even though it's not like that as much, but as soon as I didn't even think about Unforgiven, but as soon as it showed that scene where he wiped out the city and was like, "Oops," that was once again I thought about old man Logan killing all the X-Men, and spoilers, having a freak out moment.
But and then he realizes like, "Oh shit."
Well,
My bad.
Gambit, that's okay. It's
Well, I heal. I don't know about you guys, but
yes.
why you're all being bitches about it. Look, you think this doesn't hurt just because he heals back?
Yeah, one of those ones. So Sub-Zero he just goes and retires at, to have himself his little farm and whatnot. And now he's teaching Kenshi, even though he really doesn't want to teach Kenshi because he doesn't want him to learn the ways of revenge. Because that's first thing Kenshi does. He's like, once I get these powers, I'm going to go kill Shang Tsung. He's like, whoa. That's what you do with it. Come on. Have
Defensive karate only. Defensive karate only.
Yeah, be like, dude, you fought Shang Tsung. I was like, oh, well, it was the 90s, so different time.
Everybody was doing coke, all right?
Yeah. Cage brought it to everybody.
You think Liu Kang beat Shao Kahn sober? How
do you think you get those screams to be so loud? That's the only way you're going to be able to do a bicycle kick where you kick somebody about 6 times in a row while still in midair.
I mean, come on. How do you think human Raiden even lived during that tournament? Drugs.
That's why his eyes are always white.
Rolled back in his head the whole time.
I like. We even do get a cameo of Raiden at one point, like in one of those flashbacks there. And I was just waiting for it to be like, it's not. I don't think he even has any lines. I'm just waiting for him to do something like where he's like, well, I'm just gonna attempt with this, time vortex and see if I can mess it up just for everybody else's sake.
Raiden was there.
Just in a flashback. There's like Sub-Zero has like a flashback of which feels like Mortal Kombat 1 or 2 kind of era, where it's just like, I think when he's just explained to somebody, I can't remember. But it shows Raiden. I almost want to say it shows a couple of the other guys too, but
I don't remember seeing Raiden.
I mean, he doesn't have lines, and it's not for very long.
Yeah. That's all for the better. If there was any more than that, he probably would just messed everything up.
Yeah, he probably would pull out his pocket watch or whatever, and yeah.
Oh shoot! It's no, he must win. He must. Don't. Yeah.
That was the storyline where he's like, you know what? I think Kano needs to win.
Liu Kang, do not kill this man. Sonya Blade, you do not want. Does a Jedi trick on her. You do not wish to kill Kano.
Yeah, let him win. Let's see what happens. And we do see what happens because Kano gets to finally control time and destiny and make Kano's world, And for some reason, in Kano's world, he decides to make himself like an android. That's the other part that's interesting. It's like,
So that's the thing. After I found out, like, oh, okay. So he didn't initially make himself an android. He just kept adding to himself. For what I remember, because when he first talks about it, like, yeah, so this is what happened, and let's back up a little bit before we get to that. So Kenshi learns to fight.
Yeah.
Sub-Zero teaches him how to fight. First, he's a little bitch, and then it's that typical like motion that happens in movies and certain shows where somebody's being taught how to fight or taught how to do whatever, and they suck at first. Even though Kenshi was really not a bad fighter at first, he just became blind. So he's learned to fight again without his sense of sight, and at first
like
he sucks, he can't do
montage.
anything right, and then, the montage, exactly. Rocky had a montage.
Anything you want to be.
That's one of my favorites from Team America, is the montage song.
Gotta have a montage.
They should have had a montage. They didn't. They just had the scenes.
They didn't have the music. They could have used some music.
They could have. But so he goes through that, and then you see something very peculiar on the wall. I'm sure you remember what that was. The Scorpion's sai, or not sai, his kunai.
Kunai,
and or it really wasn't a kunai, it's a spear, just a little spearhead. And he's like, oh, what's that? I see that with my no eyes. And he's like, yeah, that's a promise that I'm keeping. And I'm like, oh, that belongs to Scorpion. You're gonna do something like that with that. Scorpion's gonna show up here in this movie. And this whole thing was actually one of my favorite parts of the movie, if not my favorite part. It's for more than one reason. So what's his name? Kenshi and Sub-Zero, for whatever reason, I don't even remember maybe they were like riding back to the farm or something, or I don't know. But they end up looking over this ridge and they see the all the Kano and his
Trimmer and
buddies, his all of his henchmen, all those classic MK Black Dragon henchmen are over there causing havoc in the that village that he initially beat all those people up. And I mean that Kenshi beat the henchmen up. They're over there causing trouble. So Kenshi's like, look, we got to go take care of these guys. Come on, let's go. And it's kind of a scene that honestly I thought was longer than it needed to be. Him and Sub-Zero fighting about going whether or not they're going to go down there. It was like, all right, well, let's fight about it then. And then they don't fight, and then they fight, and then they're about to fight again, but then they don't fight. And he basically gives Sub-Zero a taste of his own medicine. He uses his own advice against them, uses his logic against them, and the whole like, I got to do right for others because now I can help people and this and that. So that's what I'm going to go do. And Sub-Zero gets all butthurt and kind of like feels guilty probably. And but you don't see him for a little while. And then so Kenshi, he's like, fuck this, I'm going back to the farm and do what you want. So Kenshi's like, all right, sure. He goes down to that village. He starts whooping everybody's butt. He kills half the henchmen. And honestly, I thought that was going to be about the end of the movie there. I wasn't paying attention to the time. And I was like, okay, yeah, he's really going to pull this off. And then sure enough, no, he just trips up and they beat the crap out of him again and capture him, bring him back to Koreatown and I mean Kano Town, and string him up. And I don't remember whether I think they were going to just kill him or something, but that was that. So he's a hostage at this point. Kano and his henchmen are doing all those Lord Humongous type of things, and just enjoying a dystopian wasteland. And Sub-Zero, of course, is back at his little farm and uses that scorpion spear, his promise. And I knew this was going to happen. I'm like, as soon as he pulled that thing off the wall, put it in the ground, and was pouring gasoline or fuel of some type all over the place, I told my wife, I'm like, he's going to do a ritual, and Scorpion's going to come back. And that's exactly what happens. Yep. And that was, I think, one of the coolest outfits of Scorpion I've seen. It kind of, I don't know how you felt, but I was like, it looks like Scorpion and Spawn merged.
Yeah, and that's a good description of it. No, it's badass looking.
Super cool. And then they, he's like, oh, so you that whole promise thing, huh? So you did it again, huh? You're gonna? He's like, no, I haven't done it again, but I'm about to lose control. That is, and so he's like, all right, let's go take care of this. And then they go over to Kano's place, and the three of them start, doing what they do best.
It was funny. I think about Sub-Zero. He burns down his whole farm or whatnot like that, and I get it once again in the moment.
Nobody's going to eat anymore.
To summon, Scorpion and all that kind of stuff. But you think about okay, well, yeah, when you finish that battle down there, what are you going to do? You just burnt down your whole house. Like,
well, I wondered about that myself. I'm like, what's he going to do? Move? Like, why would he move? He's going to go kill everyone.
I work an apartment in the city, No.
I'm like, well, if he kills the main boss, why would he need to move? Did he? And it's like, someone else could take over that farm. They don't have your ice breathing skills, but I mean, this kind of a dick move.
It just felt like, what's really the point to that? I mean, other than for a movie, just for emotional reasons or a symbolic kind of.
And I'm sure that's exactly what it was.
That's all it really is. But when you think about it in real life, it's like, what?
I didn't even think about it until just now. Well, there goes everybody's farmer.
There goes the one guy who brings in the good crops. Everybody looks forward to that. Now he's like, I'm not showing up anymore.
Yeah, and then they go, they fight again, and Kenshi just demolishes stinking Tremor.
Yeah, finally.
Bad. And then same thing, kills Kira, and Scorpion, of course, is going nuts, killing people, and Sub-Zero's doing a pretty good job of that too. And then they finally do a triple team on Kano.
You know what we kind of forgot too? There's a part that kind of happens about halfway through, but old Shang Tsung there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a part like earlier on, but okay, so he gets the Well of Souls. If we pump the brakes back, or backpedal to when Kenshi gets blind first, absorbs all the souls, and the whole thing about Shang Tsung, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go, show who's the real boss here. I've been pretty much bending over backwards as like, Kano's little bitch, but you know what? Now that I got power and so on, so he goes to challenge Kano and everything like that, and they actually have a pretty big battle going on there. And of course, in the battle, Kano ends up killing it. He accidentally kills a bunch of people like in the in the way. Like I think that's the part where Cobra dies or whatever. He's like, whoops. Just blows him apart. It's just super.
He's always killing people so nonchalantly.
Yeah, it just happens.
And I'm sure that it's part of that because we talked about having the crown, Chronica's crown, and it's just like, well, whatever. I could just bring you back.
Yeah,
like
no big deal.
So desensitized to everything.
Yeah, and then once Shang Tsung thinks he's got the edge, and then of course Kano just starts to beat the living daylights out of him, and then starts slamming his head in the wall and everything like that, and pretty much puts an end to that right then and there.
I don't know. I still was. It was once again. I was like, when he fought Kano, and I'm like, okay, so Shang Tsung's going to be like the ultimate villain in this. I think. No, I was totally wrong, and but I was kind of mad that I was wrong, to be honest, because I'm thinking like, well, sure. I'm thinking like he's just a Kano bot, and Shang Tsung's like. Super powerful sorcerer. He's got all his souls back. What the heck? Like it's got to be something he could do worse than. I mean, we saw what he did to Stryker in the second movie. Holy cow! Yeah. And meanwhile, he's just like goes up and tries to choke this robot. I mean, what the heck? And then of course, well, that was the end of Shang Tsung for that for this movie, because Kano's like, you can't kill me. No one can kill me, and I'm King Kano. And he just demolishes Shang Tsung, and but yeah, and then you find out later, and he was going on about that whole thing, like we've done this before. Come on, I thought you were going to be more of a challenge this time, and that's when I started wondering, like, what's going on here? And then finally, like, I want to say it finally clicked, like, I want to say right before Scorpion got summoned. I'm like, I bet he's got Chronica's crown. And then, of course, when they do the triple team, going back to that I want to say that the climax fight where they're fighting
battle.
Everyone. Yeah. They finally smoke everyone except for Kano and Cabal, but you don't know that yet. And they triple team him. You think they're about to win. And they should have just severed his like little cable neck thing, because his head pops off. His head pops off like I don't know why, but I was thinking The Thing from John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, his head pops off, and he just I think Sub-Zero walks right up to him, but then his head goes right back in, and he gets up and knocks him out of the way, and then runs away, and he runs away with Cabal, and. They follow him in there. What's his name? Kenshi. Was that when he fought Tremor or no?
I thought that was a little bit beforehand, but I could be kind of misplacing it. I know I only watched that part last night, but for some reason,
I believe that is where he fights Tremor and kills him, because while he's fighting Tremor, Scorpion and Sub-Zero run after Cabal and Kano. And then they're chasing after him, and Kano escapes, of course, like a dirty, dastardly henchman himself. And Cabal's there fighting him, and then Scorpion saves Sub-Zero, gets him out of the way, and says, "Go finish it." And then while Scorpion is like seemingly getting demolished by Cabal, but then he remembers, "Oh wait, I'm not human." And gets himself off of Cabal's sword things, and does the toasty, rips his mask off and just burns him to a crisp. You get to see Cabal's eye melt and pop, which was great, and
good violence,
just disgusting. And I was like, that's actually the first time that you get to see Cabal's face after he's had got the mask on.
I guess that is true. Yeah.
Because the other two times you see his face are in Mortal Kombat 9 before he gets disfigured as a cop, as a reformed criminal, because they explain that he was a member of Kano's crew. And then he becomes a cop instead. And then Kentaro burns the crap out of him. Kano fixes him up, puts that mask on him, and says, voila. And Cabal's like, son of a bitch, now I'm hideous. And, and then you see him again unmasked in 11, where he's still a criminal, because it's that earlier timeline where Chronica brings him back. And he's normal. But again, he's a criminal. So I thought that was kind of cool. I prefer that.
I was even trying to think if you ever see him unmasked in any of the older Mortal Kombats, but I can't remember.
I don't think so.
No.
I know what the crap was wrong with him.
Yeah, not in 3 or any of that, so.
But yeah, so Scorpion, of course, destroys Cabal. Kenshi destroys
Tremor.
Mr. Lava Man. Yeah, Tremor. And then they meet back up with Sub-Zero, of course, after he's already finished fighting Kano.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it goes. It's weird. It's like, for the fans, like, it's Kenshi's movie or whatnot. Sub-Zero is the one who has, like, the final battle.
Mm-hmm. But considering Sub-Zero's story in this film, I think it was pretty appropriate. Yeah. But that last part there, where I mentioned that Scorpion kind of saves Sub-Zero, puts him out of harm's way, or basically away from Cabal. He like sets him in this like little room or whatever, like a baby.
Yeah, they like close the door on him.
Go finish it. Go, and no, finish him is what he said. Like in classic. But what that made me think of is I think it's Mortal Kombat 2, the ending for Scorpion basically goes into how there's no bad blood anymore between Scorpion, Sub-Zero. No bad blood anymore between Shirai Ryu, and even though it doesn't exist, I guess it's just the essence of it, and the Lin Kuei. And he basically, like all is, forgiven. I know you didn't kill my wife. I know your brother didn't kill my wife, and I didn't know that, but I killed your brother. Blah blah blah, whatever. But he chooses
under the bridge.
He chooses to. In his character ending, he chooses to be Sub-Zero's like guardian for like forever, I guess, until he dies. Mm-hmm. And I think they kind of like in later games, they kind of just wrote that out. Like they just kind of like, I don't know if they forgot about it or just chose to ignore it. But I thought that was really cool that he had this promise, like, I'll come back. Whatever the promise really was, it didn't go into too much depth, but made a promise, and Scorpion's keeping it. Like it's been years apparently. Who knows how long Scorpion's just been sitting there, like wouldn't mind killing someone. And he comes back, he helps out, he demolishes whatever's in his way, and then he again, like he that small gesture, like I said, it just made me think of that. Go do it. Like I got this. I got you. And then of course Sub-Zero, and you see that scene where Kano grabs the crown, Chronica's crown, opens that door, and there's the hourglass, that stupid hourglass from Mortal Kombat 11. And the one thing I didn't like about that was, you would think the guy ought to be wearing it the whole time, in order to retain those godlike powers or something. I don't know. Because that's kind of how it worked in 11. But then again, maybe not only is it Kano, but who knows? When you have that kind of thing in a movie, in a game, and whatever, what is it? Is it a MacGuffin where there's this object that's
everybody's trying to get
where it's like maybe he just decided to, while he was wearing it, make like you know what, I'm gonna make it so I don't even have to wear it.
Oh, let's put it on my wiener.
Yeah. You know what, I'm gonna make my wiener so thick I could put this crown on it.
Oh yeah, I got the power right here.
Yeah. I don't know why I just reminded myself of I don't know if you remember this. what's his name? Russell Crowe. I is Russell Crowe.
Fighting around the world.
Songs, fighting around the world. I Tugger.
Great South Park one.
That's one of my favorite South Park episodes. Oh, there's a bunch of Chinamen, and I love fighting. Oh, it's Russell Crowe. What are you looking at, you testicle?
Oh, I love that. But yeah, that's how Kano pretty much is too. He's fighting people around the world and everything like that.
Yeah, no kidding. And it turns out that he is responsible for the revenants that come and ravage the world, and ultimately responsible for Sub-Zero doing what he did. And it's pretty crazy. And then him and that's why I think it's pretty appropriate that they actually were fighting.
Yeah, because it kind of all leads that that's kind of all kind of tied together and whatnot. It makes Sub-Zero feel a little bit less responsible and so on. So he gets a big old battle of Kano and whatnot, and then eventually just beats him and throws him into the gears of like a clock machine, and Kano just gets ripped to pieces and destroyed and crunched up.
Yeah.
So he's not coming back.
And then of course after that, that's when you see Kenshi and Scorpion, they get there like, well, here we are.
Yeah. 10 seconds too late.
Couldn't have used you earlier, or nothing. But and then, I was kind of like, I wasn't that upset about what happened next, but I was also kind of like, really? Was where they leave the hourglass and Sub-Zero just like destroys the crown. And my first thought was, you could have just fixed everything. Like you could have made it so you didn't.
He's like, well, I don't want to pull a Raiden now.
I mean, because I always thought like the way they made it seem in 11 and 1, now in this movie, even though they don't really talk about it, it's just like, oh no, because you don't want to mess things up. It's like, does it take a special kind of idiot to like just like put in there like this happened but not this? These guys, these really bad guys, we're just not going to put them into existence. The part where I killed everyone, I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah.
That's like Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 1, bringing back at all Shang Tsung, Quan Chi.
Yeah.
Like,
it's gonna work out.
Why, dude? Like, dude, they killed you at one point. Why would you bring them back?
Yeah.
But what do I know?
Yeah.
But yeah, he just totally destroys the crown, and that was my first thought: is man, you could have like brought back. You could have brought back the Lin Kuei. You could have brought back Shirai Ryu. You could have put water back on Earth.
Yeah, fed those poor villagers that you just watched suffer for the last like 45 years.
Make some people here or there fertile. I don't know. But no, let's just destroy this crown. That's the devil. It's Bobby Boucher's mom. That crown is the devil.
Yeah, pretty much
hang out with Steve the donkey. That's Sub-Zero's donkey, Steve.
Oh yeah, he does have a donkey too. Yeah.
And then they walk
once
out.
Again, he released, before he burnt down the farm, he released his chicken and his donkey and just said,
"Oh, that's
free."
true. He did let them go. So they'll probably just starve and die. But
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. And that's that one where it's like you think that's like, oh, it's gonna be better. It's that, or some wolves are just gonna eat them all. But
yeah, exactly. The and then they show where after that, Kenshi's like, all right, let's go like help everybody out, and he's like, the first thing I'm thinking is, Kenshi, I know you don't know this because you don't have eyes, but the man is missing an arm, and he's really old.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, Sub-Zero loses.
He's missing
his arm.
fingers on one hand.
Yeah, and he loses his arm, but then he creates an ice arm, which is pretty badass, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And but he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then that's where Scorpion's like, he's like, I got a promise to keep. And of course, what I took from that, because Scorpion's standing there by his Netherrealm portal, and I've got the idea that basically he's like, whatever that promise was, if I do this again, I want you to bring me back with you to Netherrealm, because that's what I took. Because they pan over to him, and Scorpion's like,
yeah, come on the clock.
So it's like that's kind of what it took for that, as to why he just like abandoned his farm. But as you said, like, did it really need to destroy it? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. You know, it's a pretty good farm all in all. Yeah. But yeah, well, then he kind of leaves it because like there's a part where Kenshi's like, "Which Sub-Zero, are you going to do anything about this?" He's like, "That's your choice now. I'll leave you in the hourglass.
You're the Lin Kuei now, you know."
Yeah, figure it out.
But yeah, I guess so.
So yeah, Sub-Zero leaves a blind guy in charge of the hourglass, and
oh yeah, I mean he could. Yeah, one more thing, Sub-Zero could have used the hourglass and give Kenshi some eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, one more thing. And I love how, in a sense, let's be honest, Sub-Zero leaves a guy who can't see in a room of clocks. An hourglass. It says here, you have control of it. You make your own destiny. Yeah.
But no, it honestly, the jokes aside and stuff, I really enjoyed this film. Probably because I think it was a little more linear, and the focus wasn't on so many things going on.
Yeah.
Kind of like the other two. Even though there was only like 2 stories going on for both those other films, it felt like there was so much more going on. And I think that's probably because of what you saw, like especially in the first one where when they get to the island, you see all the little challenges going on, test your might and stuff. But that said, I mean, I don't know. The fact that there's no tournament, I wasn't expecting that. Didn't know what to expect, to be honest. Threw me off a little bit with what's going on. It made me wonder, what is this? Why is this? But overall, no, I really enjoyed this one. I mean, I'm really interested to see what the next one's going to be like. Is there only one more?
There's only one more of this series so far.
Man, that's a bummer.
Unless Warner Brothers decides to make another one. Because these ones were technically all going in order. So it was, I think, 2020, 2021. This one here is 2022. And then Cage Match, the fourth
23.
one. 23. And then they never did one in 24. And I haven't heard much about 25. They are coming back finally with a Batman movie. So that's kind of a good sign. At least they got something. Even though it's a Batman Ninja movie, which was one of the weirdest of the DCU movies that they did.
Oh,
if you've never seen that one, it's worth checking out for how bizarre it is. Because it's called Batman Ninja. Came out about 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh.
It's got kind of weird animation because they use the sort of CG, like cell shaded look. So you got to get kind of used to that. But it's one of those ones where it's Batman made by Japanese people with but it's almost like they doubled down on all the anime tropes and very Japanese stuff for some reason. Like if people never saw an anime before, they felt like we got to shove all this stuff in here so people will kind of understand. It's like, dude, they get it. They've been watching them for like the last 40 years. Like I don't know what you're doing, but it's weird. It's got giant robots in it. It's all Batman Samurai era. Even though it's called Batman Ninja, it's like Samurai era type stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff and. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. Is one of my least favorites of the Batman movies, I'll actually tell you.
It makes me think of the...
I'm not going to say it's not worth watching still, because it's so weird that it's kind of worth it for that. So they have a sequel of that coming out, which, once again, not super excited about, but I'll probably still buy it anyways, just because I don't want a collection to be incomplete.
Of course. I'm sure you probably heard of the Bat Who Laughs or whatever. It was that Warner Brothers did this... DC did this like heavy metal comic series, not heavy metal like the movie Heavy Metal, but it was like it was pretty dark and gritty. I haven't read it. Most of the time I read synopsises of things and plots, and then I like look at the pictures, videos, whatever. But all the heroes, villains too. I'm sure I didn't look into it that deep, but it was all like. Not quite dystopian as much as it was like everything was kind of gothic. Everything was like heavy metal, kind of mood setting tone. And
I've never heard of this one, but it sounds interesting. The
Bat Who Laughs is, I think they have he's Bruce Wayne. He's Batman who kind of takes over the Joker mantle. it's pretty weird. It's a weird concept, but it's kind of interesting. Let's see.
I mean, I'm always down for a little Elseworld story and so on like that.
Bat Who Laughs.
You know,
yeah, as a supervillain appearing in, where it's an alternate. He's an evil counterpart, an alternate version of Batman in the dark multiverse.
The dark multiverse, intriguing.
And he's depicted as a hybrid of both Batman and the Joker. And he's a member of the Dark Knights, an overarching antagonist of the dark multiverse saga. But he's pretty trippy. He's a pretty creepy Batman, and like Robin's everyone's evil, I guess. But
yeah, that's what it sort of sounds like. Yeah, it'd be worth checking out. I mean, that's kind of how this Batman Ninja one is. Everybody's got a samurai kind of motif, like so on going on and whatnot. But yeah.
So apparently I was just looking at the Cage film, and I just looked down to see if there was going to be like what the future of the series is. There's no specified date from what I'm seeing. Might not have dug far enough down, but excuse me. The looks like there's a 5th installment titled Fall of Edenia. I think it's going to be a little focused on Katana.
Oh, that's just kind of cool.
Yeah, that does sound cool, but there's no release date or nothing.
Because that actually, I can already picture that being kind of a cool story. If you had one that was like, Katana, Melina, Jade, like, and almost focus on all the kind of female ninja type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty badass. Well, cool. It's a good sign though, and I don't see why they couldn't. So I think these movies all, they do decently enough for what they need to do. For the fact for being kind of animated ones and so on. Sometimes I kind of wish that Warner Bros. Did a better job of sort of advertising them, but it's like,
gosh, I don't know.
It's like
reading something else on Reddit says last I read, future movies were quietly canceled during Warner Brothers' current problems, reshuffles, past couple years. And that was 4 months ago.
Yeah, well, and Warner Brothers was going through a lot of changeover, though I think now they're kind of somewhat more back on track as they can be. But it was like, in a sense, kind of like right when Cage Match came out, that would have been that time period where Warner Bros. Was canceling things left and right and didn't know what they'd do with themselves and so on. So
it's always like, guys, you don't have to cancel things; just do a better job.
Yeah, well, that's like one of those ones. Like a lot of people, like I feel like a lot of businesses, they run like Wile E. Coyote in a sense, where they try one thing once, and then if it doesn't work, they just completely scrap it and be like,
I'm sure it's because of the people that are investing in it.
Yeah. Well, because that used to drive me up the wall when I'd watch a Looney Tunes one. I'm like Wile E. Coyote, if he just improved on what he just did and did it better the next time, he would win.
Stop buying an Acme product.
Yeah, and stop going and trying something completely new every single time. And I feel like that's how some of those companies, like Warner Brothers, literally runs like that.
He's always going on Harbor Freight, for all of his tools.
Yeah, he likes all the Chinese ones. He's like, no more Acme. So, but yeah, Mortal Kombat, Snowblind, good one. Definitely check it out. I feel like it's kind of almost like the very hidden gem one out of all these four. It's just kind of there, and but it's neat. It's different. It's an Elseworld kind of story. It's something kind of unique. It's got all the Mortal Kombat-ness to it, but something fresh all at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
So
it's a good time.
Yeah, we got more Mortal Kombat coming. We're just in a good old Mortal Kombat mood, which is never a bad place to be at. But check out more of the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and then I'll also have a link in the description that'll show you all the comic books and all the other fun stuff too. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Dave Candido.
And we'll see you some other time.